In this video, we're going to UV the bars on the door and the windows. Let's begin with the doors first. Select them and assign UV Grid Texture Material. Every time you relaunch Maya, we need to re-enable Shaded View and remove the display of the texture in the background. So inside UV Editor, press 5 for Shaded View and 6 to turn off the display of the UV Grid texture. I've noticed that at the top and the bottom we have a couple of missing faces, and we left them out by mistake. Although it's probably not going to be noticeable. We still want to fix it because it was not deliberate. So make sure the mesh is selected, hold Shift, right click hold, and choose Append to Polygon tool. And then create 2 polygons at the top and 2 at the bottom. Now apply Automatic Unwrap and set Texel Density. This will give us a lot of UV shells. So to make our job a bit easier, select all the UVs and under Arrange and Layout, choose Stack Similar. This will overlap and stack the same shells on top of each other. And we could leave this as is and then arrange these shells a bit better, but we're going to do things a bit differently. Because we will have all of this unused texture space inside the bars themselves, here, we're actually going to give each UV shell its own unique UV space. And we're going to position all these shells inside these bars here. So again, you could keep these shells as they are and just arrange them better and then call it done. But we're going to take it a step further and give each UV shell its own unique UV space and then arrange all the shells inside these bars. So they will not take up any extra space within a UV layout. We're going to start with the smaller shells first, so select them. And we could use unstacked shells, but this will not give us the result we want. It will just add more time to make us arrange these shells better. Instead, we're going to use distribute. And the value I'm going to give, this is the shell spacing. It will distribute and unstack the shells. So I'm going to use 0.0006, and then you can distribute up, down, left or right. And in that case, we're going to distribute down. This will unstack all the shells and give enough of shell spacing between each shell. And we're going to use this for all of the shells so we can unstack them and position them right here in between each bar. This process is fairly simple and not that time consuming because distribute already organizes each shell and all we have to do is position it. In a few cases here, I do resize the shells, scaling them down slightly so they can fit in between each bar. The texel density difference is not going to be that noticeable. I am also maintaining the orientation of each shell for how they appear on the mesh. So if the shell is vertical or horizontal, I'm rotating it so they appear correctly within the UV layout. So take your time and distribute each similar stacked shell on the direction that you need, up, down, left or right, and then manually position each of these shells inside the door bars. And then once we have them all done, select all the UVs and move them down here temporarily until we finish the other bars. Next, we're going to do the same thing for the front of the store bars. Let's select them, isolate select, Ctrl 1, assign UV Grid Texture Material, and apply Automatic Unwrap. I'm going to set Texel Density to our value, which is 1, and then stack similar shells. Let's arrange all these shells better, get them close together. And now begin to select each set of stacked shells and distributing them along the direction we want. Then begin positioning inside these bars. So let's repeat this for each set of stacked shells that we have. This will be a lot quicker than the door bars before, since we have less UV shells to deal with. Just like for the previous mesh, I am trying to maintain the same orientation for each shell as they appear on the mesh. And I'm scaling a few of these shells so they fit inside the bars. Then once we are done, let's go ahead, select them all, and move them down next to the door bars. Now we have one more window bar set to do. So let's quickly run through the same steps. Select the mesh, assign UV Grid texture material, apply automatic unwrap, set textile density, and stack all similar shells. Then select each set of similar stacked UV shells, distribute them, and arrange them within the layout inside the bars. So I'm going to really speed this section up because I'm just repeating the same steps we went through for the previous two meshes. And we are now done with the window bars. Let's select all of the UVs that we just completed and position them within our temporary layout. So again, you want to make sure you select all the objects inside your scene so you see all the UVs. And then grab the door and the window bar UVs and move them next to the main layout. Delete history on all the bars. And now we can duplicate the front window bar for the rest of the storefront. For this, I'm going to switch over to Maya Classic, select the window bars, and reset the translation back to 0. This will position it back where we had it originally when we freezed transformations. Then I'm going to rotate it so it's positioned and aligned properly with the angle of the storefront. Then deselect it and select it again. Now we're going to press Shift D to duplicate with Translate, move it over, and then press Shift D 2 more times. This will move the window bar the same amount of space as the first time we duplicated. And now we have our window bars. That is it. We are done with another piece of architecture UV'd.